What's up, y'all? First video, times to come. We got set reviews coming out. I love seeing that stuff. Baboony Tim talking about doing tiers, review stuff. Josh P started with green and white. I love seeing that stuff. I like seeing what people think isn't good. I like people seeing what they think is good. I just like the different opinions from a card design perspective, from a competitive standpoint as well. I just eat that up. One of the decks I want to talk about is Joshua Brown. I posted on Discord 2 different versions. Joel Williams posted a very good Joshua Brown deck. I'm not trying to put out decks before other people. I made the set. I spent a lot of time on this set, so I know it very well. It's just, I don't feel like I need to come out and just make a bunch of decks and show it to people and kind of spoil the fun on interactions. So as people make decks and put them out, I will put out my version or versions to see just differences and other flavors, kind of schools of thought, as I've talked about for deck building. But one key topic I want to talk about is building a deck for kind of casual play, but more so for competitive play and nationals. I know I talked to Reth or Renee, asked me a bunch of questions. If you have questions, I always say just ask me. I try to get back to everyone. But one of his questions was, what makes a good deck? Like, what makes a nationals deck? When you say, oh, I want to bring this to nationals. And I've talked before I've been pretty vocal on Discord and in videos where people see a deck and they're like, that's not nationals caliber. So just write it off, and we're just going to move on to the next thing. Specifically, the last set, even Joshua's looked at like it was good, but maybe not nationals worthy. I know Green was looked at that way. David's Mighty Men, the defenses as well, which is crazy because Jaden was one misplay away from winning with Edomites. Sorry, Jaden. I know you're going to watch this, and you're probably just now starting to sleep well. But Jay's been using a Canaanite, not Jaden. Jay's been using a Canaanite deck. He's having good success with it. And he was like, I think people overlooked Canaanites. I said, well, I've been in this game long enough to understand it takes a year. It's just a smaller community. And it takes a year for, I think, the community to understand the set previous. So there's like a full 1 year lag to fully understand and see the set. So I like that people are diving into times to come. It's a very good set with a lot of interactions. A lot of weird things there, different cards, let alone repeat, but just what cards can do now. The wording of them. So I'm very excited to see what people build. I'm interested in seeing how decks move towards more of a potential balance. But one of the points that I'm going to attempt to speak about today is when you build a deck for a tournament with 3 rounds, maybe 4 rounds, compared to like 7, 8, 9 rounds of play. Those 2 decks are going to be different. They should. I think one reason I won nationals, I read the meta very well. Jaden misplayed, and I had a deck that was built for 10 rounds. So when people look at decks and they see Joshua and they see you don't have Book of the Covenant or you don't have the Clay Priests, well, I was reading the meta and seeing that overall, although it's good to have the consistency for Book of the Covenant with Clay Priests, the Tabernacle Priests, and Joshua, I think it matters more to not trigger Prince of the Air. However, if I went to a tournament over 10 rounds, I don't think I'm going to lose that much consistency with my deck. But I know I'm going to see Prince of the Air. But in a small tournament where I need every single round to be consistent gameplay, and I have to maximize my turn 1, I think you need those Clay Priests if I'm playing a few rounds. Or if it's like a Zoom game or Lackey Grand Prix where I have one game this week that I have to win. Well, I want to make sure my deck is the most consistent deck, fast, speed, power that I can do. I got to get a little more extra protein. With building a deck for like a Lackey Grand Prix, and Lackey Grand Prix is one of the best things that's happened to Redemption. And I say that, I don't say that tongue in cheek. It really is phenomenal. It is top players coming in and playing, and we're getting content because of it. We're getting deck building because of it, and we're getting people that can play where a lot of play groups dissipated over the years. We look at these decks, though, and we compare them to Nationals foolishly. That deck is made for a one-game week. Even if it's used for the whole tournament, it needs to do what it's supposed to do one game. When I made my Nationals deck, it needed to do what I wanted it to do over the course of 10 games. So I think there's a different way to look at it. When you're playing Lackey Grand Prix and you're playing tournaments at a small, like a few rounds, you're going to want ultra consistency, speed. You're not necessarily looking at having a ton of different, like your reserve isn't going to be very flexible for the most part because how much can you build for in just one game? So some things you're like, I'm probably just not going to see that. I'm not playing Jaden. I'm not using Covenant of Prayer. Although if you have 3 woes in your hand and you don't negate the Lost Soul anyway, it doesn't matter. But if you don't think you're going to see certain things in a one game, you're not going to put that counters in your deck. So, like a lot of time, majority of the year, we didn't really see a lot of Lord's Army and Joshua builds. We didn't see any Harvest Time. Well, because if I play a one game and I get Soul Droughted, okay, I had some Soul Gen in my deck, but I'm not looking at it from 10 rounds. So I don't even know if I fully answered what I was trying to or cleared that up, but I think you need to look at a deck differently based on how many rounds you're playing. And if you're playing Lackey Grand Prix and small tournaments, just under 4 rounds, 4 or less, then you want ultra speed, ultra consistency. When we talked about speed before, it was like what constitutes speed? How fast should a deck be? Me personally, I think this deck right here, this is the max speed you need. This is one of the faster decks. You don't need any more than this unless you are specifically trying to do something where you need a ton of speed to get a big combo or something. I don't know. But I think this is one of the fastest decks in the game that has speed on both sides and a lot of different ways to draw with searching. You have consistency pieces, and your consistency pieces can make your draws better or they can get you your draws. That's also important. If you just have decks that search, but they don't really, what do they do with that searching? Well, you have a card that you can use now. Well, is your searching turning into card value and card value turning into just overall attacks and blocking and all that? So that's another way to look at it. What does your speed equal? I think I said at the beginning of this video, I think Joshua Brown is one of the best decks. It was already talked about last year, and I can't wait to see top 10 decks. I got to message Hendricks to see when he wants to bring that back, maybe September, October. But the top 10 decks right out the gate, which was funny because the meta, I think there was a Joshua version, but that top 10 list, from what I remember, not once had Joshua Orange. That's awesome. That's, you try to look at the list, what are the top 10 decks, and then you can use that list to your advantage. So with here, I think Joshua Brown, Joshua Baz, and Joshua Greeks are 3 very different decks that are all amazing. With Joshua, you don't have a lot of that good soul gen. That's why I played Harvest Time. One of the reasons. That's why I have the stars in here to play, and you could easily bring in a Melechite Slave. But I'm dropping Harvest Time right now because I'm not looking at a Nationals perspective. I'm looking at small rounds. So I'm not looking at something that will give me overall value for 10 rounds where I need to factor in multiple things. I'm looking at just a 1 or 2 of game. So with Joshua, they have a lot of built-in weaknesses, and you'll see that with every offense and defense I try to make. I try to inherently build in. It's like you build in, the designer building in a fail-safe or a kill switch inside something, to where it's like, hey, I know that this offense does something very well, but they have weaknesses, and I think everything needs that. Joshua is susceptible to chumps, so you have to supplement that in your deck. And then they have weak soul gen, so you have to build that into your deck. And they have they give up initiative as well. Another thing, they can, but they sometimes have a tough time getting rid of evil characters. They can get rid of evil characters. You can Promised Land them. You could abuse Promised Land. You can Joshua command one out of their hand. Of course, you have Crumbled from a Shout. That could be used on a priest with a glory play. I think I paused and I didn't pause, and then I just spilled water on myself. Am I recording now? Yeah, I'm still recording. There. Pushed the wrong button. Okay. So now that I dribbled water on myself and pulled up OBS. But hey, that's what we do here. We don't edit. No edits. Where was I? Joshua has a tough time with Soul Gen. Chumps, discarding evil characters. In comes every single defense from Times to Come. And Joshua Soul Gen, pair it with Babylonians, Bab Merchants, capture them. They want to, you like Joshua, you want to play it with control. Bab Merchants, Idol of Nebuchadnezzar, Overseer, and Babylon. Just constantly messing with them. Joshua's hitting their hand. Babylon's hitting their hand. You have a CBN counter. You're hitting their searches. Joshua Babylonians are a phenomenal deck. Joshua Greeks, one of my favorite. Easy to abuse Promised Land, Shrine, Areopagus. Greeks are very strong, very good defense. I just like the way Joshua, like black and gold. I just like how that looks. And how Priest of Zeus is another control card. So you have Merchants to hit Searching and Babs. And then you have Priest of Zeus that can hit characters. Bab Merchants can also hit humans. Priest of Zeus, you draw, they're gone. So now all of a sudden you brought in where people want to draw against Joshua because you're taking their stuff. And now you just have A-Bomb and Priest of Zeus down. That's brutal. So Joshua Greeks, I think Joshua Babylonians, Joshua Greeks, and Joshua Persians are all going to be elite decks this year. I think Joshua Orange, people will just pick that up, slide in a couple new demons, and just keep on rolling. It's a very good deck, obviously. And then you have, when I'm showing Joshua Persians, which is, I think, like I love Joshua Greeks. If I had to rank them, I think it's Joshua Babylonians, then Joshua Greeks, then Persians, for a couple reasons. All right, I got the pause correctly that time if there was a weird jump. Promised Land, key card. Josh calls it cornerstone card of the offense. It's a staple for Joshua, and you can abuse this. Medad in here, Lost Child Found, just good in general. And then I put down Medad with Promised Land. Medad is also a consistency piece for my offense, and it's also a star ability to play a Lost Soul, which is Soul Gen, but also I was using it for Undesirables. It's still good in this deck where I can go Humble, Forsaken, Distressed, Wicked, and Crowds, so it still has uses. Same offense from Nationals, but now I get Torn Kingdom instead of War in Heaven. I get Torn Kingdom. That's really good. And not that I really have to negate or discard an evil sight, or I'm sorry, a sight, because Joshua's Sword. The fact that I just get a broad negate is always good, or just discard a human's nice. But really it's just there because it's dual alignment. negate a good card or discard a human hero and a fortress. That's very good, especially against the meta. I do not agree that Joshua's dead and that Daniel's buried him. I fully respect Josh. I love the meme that he did. I think it's hilarious. I was laughing at it. But I don't think Joshua's dead. If anything, Joshua just can go full Joshua band to captain to Michael to the Daniel offense or Cherubims and all that. Cherubims can't go to a Joshua offense. Daniel can. So I do think Wall of Protection, that should see more play, but you probably won't play it in those one or two of games. Maybe you will. Lackey Grand Prix if you're playing Joshua or Daniel. Like you just put Wall of Protection. What makes Michael so good is he just snags Captain, he snags the Cherubims, and just goes to Daniel. And it's just really, really good. So maybe Wall of Protection is played in a lot of offenses. I'm interested to see how that goes. But for a one-of game, I'm not using it in this deck. So this is 50 cards, and I have my control aspect. This is why I love Joshua with Persians. I get full negate of characters except Persians. And when it comes to kings, I have Ahasuerus, King Xerxes, and Cyrus. So I have 3 kings. And Ram with 2 horns. So I have 4 kings, but 3 in the deck. And then I have the Darius's satraps that also can exchange. So I have plenty of kings to make Darius's decree be a negate characters except Persians, and then I just use Caleb. I start all my bands with Caleb, and then it just goes Caleb to everyone else, and I'm preventing my own characters. Caleb says they can't be prevented, and then you get the band. So Darius's decree is kind of like Holy of Holies, very much so, but for Persians. But now it does not affect my offense. So instead of doing a Confusion of Mind in this deck, I just run Darius's Decree. Now, because of I'm not negating neutrals, and I don't have a lot of ways around opponents negate neutrals, well, at least at face value, I guess. I do have Martyr and Distressed, but I just destroy heroes. I do a very good job getting rid of heroes. If you are not having CBN enhancements, regardless of Protect, and you're not getting rid of heroes, you are not going to win a lot of games this year. You're just letting you know. So, Darius's Decree, huge control element, and I just flip this bad boy up. I attack with Caleb. I have my entire offense still clicking. I'm hitting your territory. I'm hitting your hand. And then all my characters work. That's very strong. When you can just say negate opponent's characters. Like that's what the artifact does. For this deck, negate opponent's characters. And that's when I say you want to use the card at the full maximum capacity. I do not want any of my characters negated. I want to negate all yours. Get my king down, my Persian king, and put Caleb down, my Caleb king. Put Caleb down, do the band, Darius's Decree works. And then you may discard this card. This every time you activate it, and if you leave it active and you decide, all right, hey, I'm going to leave this active, then you can trigger the you may discard this card to discard all characters from a reserve. Now I do Teaching in Parables, so I do have that. I do think I'm going to bring Exiles in here, and I do think I'm going to bring in Remnant. I think that's 2 control pieces where I can get Teaching in Parables back. I think Exiles is very good against these capture defenses that we're going to see. And Exiles can get back my Teaching in Parables. It can get back my captured heroes. And then Remnant, just to pop their Daniel in territory. Just take them, or Michael, whatever. I think Remnant is actually really good. But it might not go into this one, but I have Sheol. That way I can flip it underneath. Anything with Prince of the Air, which I'll show you in a second. Not a second, I'll show you in a few minutes. The other version. But if you can Sheol your Remnant and Exiles, and you're getting multiple uses from Parables, and then I'll show you my Promised Land tricks I'm doing, that's really good. And if you can Remnant their Daniel, that's phenomenal. So I think we should see we should see, but won't, a comeback with Exiles and Remnant, just because Exiles, it gets a star card back, but we don't know how many star cards we're going to see. Maybe Green will have some. But if I can get back Amazing Faith, Teaching of Parables, and Lost Child Found, plus I can go to I can get back all my captured characters, I think that's very much worth it. So if put in territory, which that's also good because I could Lost Child Found or Amazing Faith it, release all captured humans, top deck or take an OT artifact from reserve, or top deck a good star enhancement from discard pile. Just a lot of uses, and I think it's really good. When it came out, it was bonkers because of reserve rule wasn't there. Honestly, Exiles and Remnant are a huge factor of why the reserve rule came into play. But I can see Exiles coming back this year. It's great in this deck. I'm not using NT Unity right now, so that's because that was me playing for the 10 rounds. I don't think you need NT Unity in shorter rounds, although it can catch people off guard. And then Remnant taking a key character is just really big right now. Judean mediums, Prince of the Air, Daniel, Michael, their captain. There's just a lot of characters that you just want to snag. And then Remnant goes right into this deck. So honestly, they should have already been in here. And if so, as much as I love Lawless and Forsaken, those can come out, and I can bring in Covet, and I can do OT Unity, or I just take out Forsaken, bring in Remnant, and I can just kind of maybe Humble comes out with how much I have potential for CBN and negating characters. Maybe Humble comes out and I bring in Remnant Exiles for Forsaken. Or Distressed. Distressed can come out. I do not want to see Bad Merchants. I don't want to see Overseer. I don't want to see Priest of Zeus. Usually he comes out early though. So I think Distressed also makes a comeback, which is nice because we weren't seeing Distressed for a while. Distressed kind of went back, and I always say like Wall of Protection and Distressed, when it comes to Nationals, they just they reappear. Same with Herods. We'll see if that's true this year. So, why do I think Joshua Persians are so good, other than just Darius' Decree and 2 cards that you keep talking about that aren't even in your deck? Where are you? This card. Really good. I knew it was good when I was making it. We talked about some things you could do. Is it just, hey, this is just a negate reserve? You can just negate and reserve their 3 woes and take it. Yeah, you can negate and reserve this card, and you can just take it. So you can attack me. However, I have to use my enhancement on something that is not in battle. So if you put me in SI, I have to negate and reserve. Assuming this is in my hand, this is what I have. I would have to negate and reserve what you played. However, if I come out with like a Persian Horseman or Haman or something, I have initiative, say traps, and I come in, then I can just negate and reserve my Promised Land, and then I can take my Promised Land and an Irrational Rage or any of my stuff from reserve. Or I can negate and reserve your woes and take it. Or, my goodness, if you have woes and Promised Land down in your territory, that's massive. That's enough to where I can just take your woes and your Promised Land and die in a mirror match and give up a soul and feel good about it. Also, I can negate and reserve your card in battle, and then I can take 2 cards from my reserve. So I can just go in, and that's why I have heavy enhancements in here. And I also come back with like a leave your name, because the fact that I can just get a storehouse, leave your name, it's nice for my Persians to have CBP, but having a random reserve a card is good. But when I can Darius' Decree a bunch of characters, I could reserve all your characters and then kill them all. But when I have the flexibility of reserving and taking your Promised Land, reserving and taking your woes, whatever's out in territory, It's really good against the mirror. So if I can Joshua's command, promised land, falsified claims, it's just more ways that I can start taking your really good resources. With Cyrus the Great, if I come in like Forsaken's down and I block with Cyrus the Gate, especially with an enforcing ideology down, oh, that's strong. Because now I'm restricting good dominance for 3 turns, and I can turn that off with Lost Child Found, and I can turn it off with Captain. That's also just another thing that meshes very well with this deck. I can restrict good dominance, and then I can attack. I can turn off enforcing ideology, and I can have Lord's Army in battle. My good dominance work. Your good dominance work too, but I'm restricting evil doms. So it's really good. There's just so many intricacies of Joshua Brown. It plays very well. Which is cool because Joshua took over, like Canaan took over so much, like brought him to the promised land, and just like beat up on some people. And then Persians, hundreds of years later, came in and kind of did the same thing. So it's really cool to see. When I have my interrupts, which usually I'm not going to play these on Cyrus, but that's a wall alone, so I could always just go Cyrus, banned, and then I can just play my interrupts, or I could come out with Cyrus as just like enforcing ideology out, or like a shield out, and stop tossing interrupts is huge, especially when you see that I have a negate and a negate. So I have 2 interrupts, but I also have 2 negates. And if Cyrus comes down, like Cyrus alone, just put him down, block him. I mean, it was Tim's deck last year, or Brian's deck. Like their offenses, they're trying to interrupt the battle and banned. This guy's like, no, all that's done. That stuff's done. That's huge. That is a very strong evil character. And then you start layering defenses. What are your souls doing? Are they helping you? Do you have an add to battle? Do you have a dominant? Do you have a Darius's decree out? Are you stopping what they can do? And when he's saying, hey, everything that says interrupt is tossed, if I'm alone and I'm restricting your good doms, I have Forsaken out, so I'm an 11-10 that tosses, and you can't band. And theoretically, you can't ban like at all. Between Darius's decree, Forsaken, no, that's it. Darius's decree and Forsaken, and then that was the other thing, and then Cyrus tossing a lot of those bans that interrupt and then banned. A lot of those good enhancements, he's tossing them. Makes it very tough. You would have to come in with something like CBP, Captain, Ezekiel from POC with cherubims and stuff like that. That's also another offense that could work with this, Ezekiel with cherubims. So, what else do I have? Horseman's great. You can bring in confusion in here. It was in here. And maybe like leave your name comes out for confusion. Just because Joshua gets rid of your deck protection, that you can just come in with confusion and not really worry about it. Let's see. Haman's Haman, negating characters, and then going straight to a plot or a boasting is great. The fact that you can go straight to a boasting for a draw 3 and you have 2 interrupt draw 3s with big battle winners to back them up. Brown likes those interrupt draw 3s. When other defenses have them, Brown just likes to play with them for some reason, and other defenses don't. And you could still, like Joel Williams, he was playing a couple more warriors with foreign horses. Also, great move. I have triple layered hand protection. I think we're going to see more Joshua. I think we're going to see green, and I just don't touch my hand. So I want to make sure that my guys in territory are protected and my hand's protected. And then I still have the if blocking withdraw all. That's huge. If you come at me with a big band with Lord's Army or a big Michael being white, doesn't necessarily matter. But if you come at me with a green silver band and I just withdraw you and I just leave you with that silver angel, could be very difficult for the opponent to get matching enhancements on. So he's got a strong if blocking. Already talked about Cyrus. Depraved's great. This is my mini Prince of the Air, where I can reserve up to X cards. This is another way where I can reserve my Promised Land, and then Joshua just goes and grabs it. So if I just put down Promised Land, and then I Falsified claims it, Joshua grabs it, puts it down at the end of my turn, you're losing another card from your hand, your best one. And then I come out with a Depraved, and the issue is I have a Prince of Persia. I'm almost thinking about just changing that or dropping Prince of Persia just to where that's one less brigade. If so, and I have mono brown with almost mono gold, I should be good for Depraved to where you always have brigade advantage. And then I can just reserve my Promised Land. But it's still in there. Guard at the Den, phenomenal. I think we kind of learned over time that if I'm trying to rely on my opponent to have something in play for me to have CBN or for something, it's not always, it's tough to rely on. So him, I can just play good OT Prophets, and guess what? One of the main heroes in the deck is a good OT Prophet. So same with Daniel, just you could use this with Daniel, of course. It's kind of why he was made. And then I could play with Lions in here, and you could play Lions Den as well. But I could play Lions, that work in brown. I could play Ahasuerus with Lions and Pride of Lions. There's just a lot of cool stuff you could do. Like I said, I don't want to go into everything. I want other people to do it. But I know Tim talked about Ahasuerus with Pride. Pride of Lions. So if a good OT Prophet is in play, evil OT enhancements used by this hero cannot be negated. Cicero on steroids to where I expect Prophets to be all over the place. Green is one of the best brigades in the game right now. Joshua is a Prophet, and Daniel. So you have arguably three of the best offenses. Even Clay uses Simon Peter and John the Fisherman. So that's OT though, I'm sorry. So it's good OT Prophet. And that's where I say we make sure that offenses in the set are catered or countered. Having CBN enhancements is massive, especially when people are just shoving this huge band out. If you go Guard at Den with like Rulers of the Earth, not in here, but you could easily go Rulers of the Earth. Guard at the Den comes in, you turned every single one of your Persians, they all gained reserve access. So I was looking at getting that card in here. If your Persian blocks, you may take an Evil Daniel card from reserve. Honestly, that's why Leave Your Name wasn't here, because originally I had Rulers of Earth, and maybe Rulers of Earth comes in for Prince of Persia, and I go mono brown. And I just slap Rulers of the Earth down. I have ways to get OT for it, so maybe it's in reserve. Maybe this comes out for Rulers. It's just another way to get Promised Land into the reserve. And maybe I find out I don't need all these, and I'm crushing heroes anyway. So maybe something comes out. As much as I love Impending Battle, like maybe Impending Battle comes out. It's just Guard at the Den, especially with Sheol, and I just add in a Guard at the Den, and I have an Interrupt, and I just slap an Impending Battle down. I just reserved you all. You may add another, and it's CBI. That's really good. Doesn't matter, it's CBN. But just Sheol in general with Impending Battle is good. What I like most about Joshua Brown, it wins the grind. It's fast, it's consistent, and it smacks you in the mouth. I mean, this thing reserves your cards, takes your cards, reserves them on both sides, and then can start recurring. You have Scarlet Line with Rahab. You have just strong heroes. You have really strong evil characters. I really like that Exiles Remnant play where you can start gaining value, hiding souls, and getting them back. It's going to be a very popular deck, and Chad said it well. He was like, I played a lot of Joshua decks at Nationals, like we were playing. He goes, I played a lot of Joshua decks today. He was like, you're playing it. You just know exactly what to do. Now that Joshua's been out for a year and there's a lot of content on it, I think people are going to learn which defenses to play with it. Demons, Babs, Persians, Greeks are all going to be extremely popular. And then what do you do with those demons? Like, what else do you play? I showed another deck where it was um, Demons Pale Green. I really like that version as well, where you're just playing Wicked, Suicidal Swine Stampede, Confusion, Death of Unrighteous, Queen T, and you're still hitting them pretty big. But yeah, I love this. King Xerxes, you're just crushing their territory. You're crushing their reserve. You're taking things from their reserve. You're taking their best stuff. It does a lot. And you need that extra exiles. Crumbled from a Shout has to be played at the correct time. You need the Scarlet line to back it up sometimes, where you could play Crumbled, drop a Scarlet line after from your discard pile, essentially. Torn Kingdom, I always like having that duel for my decks. If I'm playing black, I'm probably playing Lord's Army in here in main deck, and that's going to be Return to Fight. So I pretty much always want to have, and I'm probably going to play both the orange evil characters and have War in Heaven, play Return to Fight and War in Heaven. It's just good. So I feel like I've already talked for an hour. I do want to talk about this deck, though. Sorry, I didn't feel like switching it all up. This is the same thing, but different. So we still have the same exact enhancements. So we still have our 6 plus our Torn Kingdom. The offense, the souls, and the dominance, and everything here is the same. Top row is the exact same. This row, the exact same. Bottom row is the exact same. And all these cards, minus Gates of Hell. So we just look at the characters. The reserve is slightly different. I'll get to that. But this is the demon version. And I shared this on Discord, and then I was like, oh, I forgot. You need Gomer and Vashti in here, I think. Because Gomer bans to Prince of the Air, but Vashti bans to Gomer. So if you want to do, like, a Prince of Persia can ban to a Persian, and you can go Prince of Persia to Vashti, Gomer, Prince of the Air, or Judean, or OT female, Vashti, Judean mediums. You just have a lot of ways to mix and match to where you can get your Prince of the Air in battle. That's all you want. You want your Prince of the Air in battle as much as you can. All the time, every time. And Prince of the Air, he's underdecking your Promised Land, and your Shrine is getting it back. Your Joshua's Covenant is getting it back. So you want a Prince of the Air, your Promised Land, unless you need it for battle or something, but I try to always get rid of their best stuff and then get my Promised Land back. And you still have the Depraved. So you have mini Prince of the Air. Judean mediums to ram with 2 horns is very good. That lets you get the potential CBN protection still. So imagine like Herod Agrippa, where you just go Judean mediums to Herod Agrippa, essentially. CBN protection, that's what it is. And we're going to see a ton of banding. So same thing, I can get rid of your enhancements, or get rid of your characters. I can do a lot of character destruction, territory destruction, reserve a bunch of stuff, negate characters, except Persians. Judean mediums has the CBN clause, where she's trying to make Prince of the Air CBN, Gomer CBN, Vashti's a Persian. So Darius' decree doesn't hurt this defense. Same exact thing. This just gives me a little different look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Still 9 evil characters. Heavy defense. And I have Gates of Hell in here, so I can just Prince, go straight to Gates of Hell. And that allows me to bring in the Deceiver, Prince of Persia, and Ram with 2 horns. So it's just another flavor. And I think this is just about the exact same. I don't have Shield, so I was able to bring in just another enhancement. Like I said, we could still easily bring in Confusion here. There's also brown Joshua enhancements. And a couple of them that are good, or one of them that's good. Ache and Sin, negate the last, discard all. So if you want, like, Joshua can get you a Joshua enhancement, Ache and Sin would be really good for this. Storehouse can take this stuff. So if you wanted, you can bring in a brown Old Testament enhancement that Joshua can get, and that Storehouse can get, and that Persian Horseman can get. So And maybe the move is Rulers of the Earth because Haman's boasting and Xerxes can just play it. And maybe Rulers of the Earth come in here instead. And I could always just ban 2 Rulers of the Earth from my reserve, and I could always Lost Child Found it too. But yeah, I think I'd still want... I've played Babel a lot with Persians, where I put Babel in the reserve, and then I slam Babel in. What's nice is Babel is a negate, so that it becomes an ongoing prevent. So when it comes in, it's a negate, and then after that, it prevents. So if they come in with a band that's CBP, I can play Babel and, negate it. So I think Rulers of the Earth, Babel can come in here. I don't think I need all these enhancements. I'm not going to play all these. I'm probably going to get more value from Babel. So Babel probably comes in. Maybe Confusion somewhere. But I just wanted to show that there's different ways to make them, different things to think about. How many rounds are you playing? Are you doing a Lackey Grand Prix? Are you going a small tournament? And if you're playing casually, are you just trying to test things out? Like, what are you trying to do? So I think we're consistently seeing the skill gap is getting more and more narrow with the top players. And then we're seeing more and more players coming into that top threshold. I'm going to continuously try to push all players forward thinking of deck building outside the box, how to link cards together. You can see my ratios that I like here. And when you go to someone for deck advice, know who you're going to. If you come to me for deck advice, I'm going to ask you questions first, because my ratios might not be your ratios. You want to know why I play almost the same ratios in all my decks? Because it allows me to use a defense that I want to use, that I think is important, that makes me feel comfortable in my game. When I can play 9 or 10 evil characters, and I can play 5 or 6 evil enhancements, I feel good. When I have my add to battles, I feel good. And I could easily change my dominance up here too, to get more add to battles on both sides if I want, because I don't have Goys in Harvest Time. I don't see me using Goys at all this year. So I can swap up my dominance for more add to battles, and I can swap up my Lost Souls. But when I look at my overall ratios, you can see I don't use as many heroes. I have ways to heroes, but I play balanced, or what's considered D-heavy, but they're balanced. I used to play D-heavy, but these are all balanced decks that are still very fast and aggressive. That is my play style, where I want to control. I want to have a fast, consistent, aggressive deck, where people will say you lose that from you'll lose if you want to be fast and aggressive. That your defense has to be sacrificed. My play style is not. It might not be as fast or as aggressive as other decks or offenses. Like, if I really wanted to, I'd probably bring in another weapon in Buckler, and I can bring in like Buckler instead of Martyr. I think that's fine. I love Captain Sword, but then you need 20 shekels, and guess what? That means defensive cards are coming out. So if that's the case, I want to make this ultra effective, super consistent offense. Then I'm bringing in the 2 Clade Priests. I'm bringing in Angel of the Winds, or maybe Victorious Being. All of it, Book of the Covenant, and then I'm having Covenants in my reserve too. And I've just found that if I can block when I'm actually sitting down and playing, that games don't go to 3 turns. That games actually are going to 6 turns, and they're rarely timing out. We're actually finishing games. I think the data supports that, and I think defenses matter. This is my play style. You need to find your play style. If you're not great at playing defense, then let's see what are the best chump defenses. And maybe you become like the master of chumping. Lost Art is just the big bodies. Beelzebub to KOT. Beelzebub to Red Dragon to Outsiders. Gold Black is phenomenal. You can become like an expert at banding. You can have a by the numbers defense. Josh P just had a great point. He was like, we just don't really see a lot of by the number defenses right now. that would mess people up. It would catch them off guard. If you're playing Coliseum, Cross, Idle, and Nebby, and you're trying to play CBN defenses, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I think people are trying to adapt other play styles into their without finding their own, and they're not sure their ratios. You'll see the top players can mix and match their ratios, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about becoming one of those top players. Find your ratios, find what you're comfortable in blocking with, and build to that. And it'll take time. I've been playing this game for a very long time, and I just won nationals in Type 1. I haven't played nationals a lot of Type 1, but still, I've been playing for 20 years. So it'll take time. Hopefully it won't take you 20 years. Know your play style, and what are you playing? Are you playing 7, 8, 9 rounds? Or are you just playing a 1 of or a 2 of? If you're playing a 1 of or a 2 of, you need to think of that way. I need to get my cards out quick. I need to have consistency and speed. Know your ratios. Know your school of thought. Create your school of thought. What do you like? How do you like to block? How do you like attack? And put that into a deck. So I'm not going to go through gameplay. I've spoken a lot. So I've talked about 2 different decks. Probably repeated myself 100 times. Hey, repeat. So I think we're good here. I just was really excited to show and get out some ideas, deck ideas, conceptual, actual like thinking of building a deck and how you should go about building a deck based on what you are playing, like tournament-wise, how many rounds, and then finding your groove. So eventually, I brought it up, but not this. I brought it up this video, but we're going to talk about it more as defensive layering. And this is why people joke where if you watch my video, it's just a lot all at once. I'm going to keep throwing things at you, and some things should stick. So I'll start slowly talking about defensive layering and what that means. And I'm trying to get people to become better at defense because there's a lot of good ones that just came out. I want people to play them and have fun. But that's it. I'm going to end the video here because if not, I'm just going to keep talking about the next thing that I'm excited about that comes to my mind. So thank you all for watching. Message me on Discord, comment here if hey, like you talk too fast. You're speaking at like you've been playing for a long time and I have a tough time following you. Or can you slow it down? Or can you go into more detail about certain things? Just let me know. I'm going to be doing a lot of deck videos, and then I have a few other things I'm going to be doing this year too. So, see, there I go again. I start talking. So I'm going to end the video. Thanks y'all for watching. Should have a good year this year. A lot of decks, a lot of videos, open meta. See y'all.